make sure I get your last name right. Kelly Jardim is a grade 10 learner at St. Andrew's School. The town is Welkom. When she was in grade 9, she encountered a problem with her cousin and vision and troubles with reading. And so that inspired her to work on some research having to do with the way the muscles and the eye work together to create vision. And as part of the competition for the Eskom Expo, she put together this paper and posted and was judge number 1. She's been invited to be the youngest lecturer at Scifest. So give her she's got some remarks to discuss her research, and then she'll take questions and answers. Thank you.
Right. So, good afternoon, everyone. I am Kelly Jardim, as Jim said, and I am in grade 10 at St. Andrew's School in Welkom. And unlike St. Andrew's School in Grahamstown, ours has girls in them. So, I'm going to be speaking to you about my Eskom experience, and then I'm going to be telling you a little bit more about what Eskom Expo for Young Scientists is. So, Eskom Expo for Young Scientists operates in 31 regions and in all 9 provinces of South Africa. It is South Africa's primary and only existing science fair for scholars. Expo is a perfect vehicle for South African students to demonstrate their innovation and ingenuity through a scientific project. It provides an opportunity to become an original designer of a scientific project. It showcases one's innovation and ingenuity through the projects of science, technology, engineering, mathematics, and innovation. It provides a platform for growth and for catchment for future scientists, researchers, and engineers. Eskom Expo for Young Scientists has been inspiring young students for nearly 35 years. So, from when I was in grade 8 at my school, it has been compulsory for all grade 7 to grade 9 learners to do an Eskom Expo project. We're lucky enough to have a science teacher that is so inspired to do and has a passion for science and passion for Expo, and has inspired me and has given me some, has ignited my love for the sciences as well. I started my Eskom Expo journey 3 years ago. With my first topic, my aim was to improve teenage fitness levels by using a weekly fitness program that I developed. Even though the project was good enough to take me to regionals, sadly I could not, because I was training to go to the Showdance World Championships later that year that was held in Germany. So last year I was excited to take my project of improving accuracy and speed of learners to regionals, and even more excited to take it to nationals. This year I'm currently busy with a new project. It's a work in progress, and I really do hope to get to nationals again this year. So this was my project that I did last year. You work all year, and this is what you have to show for it. So the board is an actual summary of your whole project. Your actual project that gets given into the adjudicators all goes in your data file. In your data file, there has to be sectioned off, so there will be different sections for each topic in your file. So your hypothesis, your aim, your method, and your results will all be separated neatly in the file. And then all your research and all your rough copies gets put into a different file, and this file is only for the adjudicator's eyes, and you just leave it on your table. So any piece of paper that you just scribbled an idea on, or a piece of paper that I gave to an optometrist to maybe check, that all goes in here, or your questionnaires, everything. So let me just tell you more about my actual project that I did last year. So I'll start with my introduction, and just to tell you more about what inspired me to do my project. This project was never supposed to go, I never expected it to go this far. It just started off with me trying to help my little cousin. Last year he started grade 1 and he had big troubles with reading. And after a few weeks at school, the teacher sent a letter home saying that he needed to go to an optometrist. And at the optometrist, they prescribed him reading glasses. And it just never got better. He would still struggle with reading, his eyes would burn, and he just really didn't like going to school anymore. And now the students here would know, especially the boys, that guys can get really mean. And if you're the only little boy in the class that's wearing glasses, you're going to get teased. So I wanted to see if I could find a way that would help him so that he wouldn't have to get teased at school. I mean, he does a lot of sports, so he'd have to wear his glasses while he's playing sports. And that's not always so fun. So I did my own research, and I went to go speak to more optometrists who were one optometrist actually had a program called Wise Eye. And Wise Eye is a really expensive program that helps children. It's eye exercises that help children. So she showed me her program, and I did more of my own research, and then I developed 3 of my own eye exercises that I then practiced with grade 1 students. So my aim was to investigate whether eye strengthening exercises would improve the reading accuracy and speed in a grade 1 pupil. My hypothesis, which is what I thought the outcome would be that eye strengthening exercises will improve the reading accuracy and speed of a grade 1 pupil. As you can see here, my first method, or my first step in the progress of finding the answer to this, was to then interview 3 experts. I interviewed a grade 1 student, a grade 1 teacher, I interviewed an optometrist, and I interviewed an occupational therapist. They all had more or less the same answers for me. They all said that children aren't doing enough basic play when they're small, so their eye muscles aren't being developed enough. We all know that we're living in a day and age where if it's just a little too hot outside or a little too cold outside, children would rather stay indoors and play with a piece of technology. I'm not bad, but I think that when children are small, especially when they're still developing, that they should be playing outside. Just climbing a tree or playing tag outside with your friend, that is developing their eye muscles. The little eye muscles around your eyes need to be developed. Just like you going to a gym is going to be making yourself more fit, you need to be doing eye exercises that's going to increase the fitness level of your eyes. So my second method was that I wanted to see the parents' point of view. So I sent out questionnaires to a bunch of parents whose children are in grade 1. And the first question on the questionnaire was if they thought that there was a lot of weak eye muscles. And funny enough, as you can see on my graph, the blue part shows the amount of parents that thought that there are a lot of children that have weak eye muscles, and the red part showing the amount of parents who thought that there wasn't a lot of children with weak eye muscles. But then the question directly after that, I asked if they thought that their child had a problem with weak eye muscles. And then you can see how most of that, their child didn't have a problem. That's the red. That the green part is the parent, when I asked the parents if they thought their child sometimes had problems with the weak eye muscles, or the problem with reading, and only one parent actually said yes, they think that their child has a problem with reading. So we see that coming out again where, there is a problem with the mind. So then my third method was when I actually did the intervention. So what I did was, I started off with a pre-test, which was 40 familiar words that came out of a grade 1 syllabus that it was in their home language, and I did these tests in the third term, so it's words that they had been going through since the first term. Now, from my research and from the research I gathered from optometrists, children at that time should be able to read 40 familiar words in 1 minute. With the pre-test, they were reading the words in almost 3 minutes, and they were making up to 14 mistakes. So what I did was, I made them sit, and I just told them to read the words that stood in front of them. I didn't tell them it was a test, I didn't tell them that I was timing them. And I timed them, and every time they paused a little bit wrong at a word, or if they pronounced the word wrong, or if they read the word wrong and then had to go back to fix it again, I marked that down as a mistake. After doing this, I took the first half of the students, and at random, the first half from the list, and that half I did the actual tests with, and the other half didn't do the tests. So I'm going to now explain to you what tests I did with the children. So I'll just need someone to just help me. Could you help me? It's fine. Okay, so the aim of my project was to be able to develop these exercises that you'll be able to use everyday objects in your house, that parents wouldn't have to go on spending thousands of rands to get their child tested, and then pay more than thousands of rands to actually buy the program. So what I did was, you can actually use a normal pen or a Koki that you find in your house. I just put this on top of it because I was working with 7-year-olds and their concentration levels are not very great. And they thought this was pretty cute. So what you do is, you stand directly in front of the child, or I sat down with them, and you tell them to concentrate just on the pen and to ignore your finger completely. So what you do is, just look at this, and you mustn't move your head, so just your eyes. So you move it up, down, so whichever way the pen goes, your finger goes in the opposite direction. Now you repeat this, thank you. You repeat this for 2 minutes, and what this does is, your brain and your eyes are taking notes of your finger and of the pen at the same time. And that is strengthening the long movements, so it's strengthening the up and down and left and right muscles. And that's for reading, to help them to concentrate better and to help their eyes focus better on the words. The second test I did was that I put them in a slightly darkened room, and we all lay on our back, or it was only 2 of us, we lay on our back and we look at the ceiling. And you can either use a laser, so a red little laser, or you can use a torch that you find in your house. And what you do is, you make patterns on the ceiling. The key is not to make rigid patterns like lines, because then you're basically doing the same as the pen. So you make little squiggles or heart shapes, and if you're working with little ones, it's cute to tell a story of like fairies in the forest. And what that strengthens is for your eyes to actually yoke together, so your left and your right eye to actually work together, and that helps when you're actually reading to go from one line to the next line with ease. And then the third exercise that I did, you take a whole bunch of papers and you draw a smiley face, so when I put the smiley face in there, and you sit with the child in front of you, and you tell them to close their eyes, and when they open their eyes, they've got to look directly at the face. They hold that for 3 seconds, and they close their eyes again. Then you swap to the next slide, or the next page, and then the smiley face has to be on a different side of the page. That is to help the eyes and the brain focus on a word. So if they have to look away from a book and look back at the book, that trains the eye to know where to look again. So I did these exercises for a week, and after the week was over, I tested all of the children again. So the half that did do the eye exercises, they increased the speed 60% and the accuracy 97%. And the half that didn't do the exercises, they either remained the same or did worse than what they did in the beginning. Now, I think this is a question that's going to come up, is why did I only do it for a week? And I used the same test. And that's because children of the age of 6 or 7, work that they've read and they didn't study, they actually tend to forget within 4 days. And that is their memories. How long it lasts, yes. Okay, so then you get to your analysis of results. And that's basically explaining what your findings were. It's also telling you if there were any anomalies in the project and why you think that those came along. There was one child in the whole of the group that I did not test that did better, and I think that's just because she's clever. And she didn't do that much better than what she did in the first time that they did it. And then next come your future possibilities. And those are things that I want to do with my project afterwards. And 2 of them have actually already happened. One of them was to actually be able to sit in front of a group of people and actually tell them about this. Because some people don't find that this is very important. But what people don't understand is if we don't fix this problem when they're young, it just carries on with them as their school career progresses. Imagine you get to grade 11 and grade 12 and you've had a problem with reading throughout your whole throughout your whole school career, and you find out that this could have all been prevented if you just sat down for 6 minutes a day and did some eye exercises. If more teachers are implementing this in their schools' programs, we could decrease the number of children who struggle with comprehension in English class. And not just in English class, but understanding their work in exams and in tests in all subjects. Because reading isn't just for English. Reading helps you with all your subjects. The second was to actually get schools to buy into this. I'm lucky enough to have my school actually practicing these exercises every single day with the students. The grade R and grade 1 teachers now practice this with the students. And my goal is to actually get more schools in my region and schools in other regions to actually take part in this and to actually start doing these eye exercises with their children every day. My conclusion was then that my hypothesis was not rejected, and that eye strengthening exercises did improve the reading, accuracy and speed of the grade 1 learner. And I think that when it comes to my limitations, I think that if I did it for longer than a week, then I think that the amount that it increased, that it bettered their reading ability, that it would look better on graphs, and that there would be an even bigger increase if I did it for longer than a week. My other limitations was that obviously I had to do this project at school with the children, and I couldn't skip out on my academic time, and all the tests had to be done at the same time, and I had to give them all individual attention. So it was 2 minutes, or actually 6 minutes per child that I had to do all the exercises with. And then obviously you have to have your acknowledgements on your poster, and that's everyone that helped you throughout your Expo journey, even if they just helped you paste the white pieces of paper onto the board. That is still, they contributed to your project. Okay, and then obviously the bibliography that also has to go onto the project. So doing Eskom Expo for Young Scientists does come with its challenges. Although it can be a lot of fun, informative, and a great experience, I'm not going to lie to you, it doesn't come easy. A lot of work goes into the project, and it takes a lot of effort, research, and time. But I promise you it's all worth it in the end if the students just persevere. Certainly, with my experience, time, like I said earlier, was definitely an issue, adding to my already busy schedule. But in the beginning, I tried to fit Expo into my life, but then at the end you'll see you're going to start to fit your life into Expo. But you must never overwork yourself. You must pace yourself and keep a diary and set yourself goals, because that's what worked for me. In the beginning, you'll be overwhelmed by the work and inexperience, but as you go along, it just gets even more fun and it just runs smoothly. Another challenge that we're faced with is to actually find a topic that's going to work for you. I suggest that you choose a topic that works with your interests and your hobbies, so that it just makes the whole experience more fun because you're finding things out that interest you. The more Expo you do it, the easier it becomes to choose a topic. You'll soon see project topics wherever you look. So now, for example, I'm thinking how long does it, to investigate how long it takes an audience to get bored during a lecture. Eskom Expo for Young Scientists has impacted my life in so many ways. First of all, I wouldn't have the opportunity to stand here before you today. I've learned so many invaluable skills, like time management skills, to be confident, research skills, and to be able to compile a tertiary level project. Okay, so we only have a few students here, but I'm just taking that you would want to go to university one day, right? So we all know that a tertiary education does not come cheap, and that not all of our parents can afford to send us to university one day. But by entering Eskom Expo for Young Scientists and compiling a good scientific project, you have an opportunity of winning a bursary. For example, everyone who received the Gold National Expo last year received a scholarship to cover the cost of the first year tuition in any science-related subject at the Rhodes University. You even stand a chance to go overseas to represent South Africa at an international science fair. I mean, how exciting is that? I encourage each and every student here today to try and do Expo, because it doesn't just help you compile a project, but it gives you so much back. It just doesn't matter where you come from, it doesn't matter your background, it doesn't matter who your parents are, because you can really do it. There's a girl in my region whose mother is a domestic worker and whose father died before she was born. And she's actually, now in April, I think, is going to be representing South Africa at International Science Fair with her Eskom Expo project. So, if you'd like to do Eskom Expo, you can ask your science teacher to help you and get more friends to do it as well, so you can motivate each other along the way. And if you'd like to enter by yourself, or if you'd just like to know more about Eskom Expo, then you can visit their website at www.exposcience.co.za. Eskom Expo for Young Scientists. Let's move our nation forward towards an even brighter future, just one project at a time.
Very, very inspiring. Wonderful to see the scientific method being applied in schools in grade 9 and beyond, and the vision that you have for children, learners, to do exactly what you've been doing. So we have about 20 minutes or 25 minutes for questions. Kelly would like to manage the audience herself, so I will just be the mic runner.
You started off. Okay.
We're recording for YouTube.
You started your project because of your cousin. Did this help him?
Yes, it did actually. He's been doing the eye exercises, and he actually is not using his glasses anymore. He just does these eye exercises every single day, and it's helped him a lot.
I wanted to ask you, you say that your school has started implementing your exercises for their grade 1 and grade 1. What comments have the teachers come back with? Obviously it's too early to start collecting data from they've already just started, but considering what their experience with teaching children to read the year before, and I presume they started this year?
Yes. Okay, so what happened was, the grade 1 teacher that I interviewed actually tried to do eye exercises the year before in the beginning with the children, but it only lasted for about 2 weeks because they get irritated, and the eye exercises that she actually got from an optometrist weren't that fun, and you had to sit in front of a ball, and the ball had to come up to your eyes and go away, and that you had to sit and do with a child for 4 minutes. And you are not going to keep a child's attention for more than 2 minutes, and especially if it's something boring. So these eye exercises that I actually did, I made them fun. I told stories while I did it. I actually let the kids draw their own faces on the papers before I did the third eye exercise with them. And because they had done it with me for that week, they just wanted to carry on doing it. So the teachers actually came to me and asked me if they were allowed to do the eye exercises with the kids, because they kept asking me to do it. And they said that it didn't just improve their reading accuracy and speed, but it improved the whole way that way that they look at reading. They just sat up more, like they're a little bit more straight up, and they didn't move their head anymore like a grade 1 child usually does, with the finger and the head that goes along with it. They sat and read like a grown-up would. There's a little girl that's in grade 1 now who sits and takes out the library books. It's not thick library books, and it's not books that have the biggest words in it. But she came to me and she said to me, because you came and taught us how to read, I just love it so much. And she'll sit with a book and she'll spell out the words until she can read every single word in that book. And she sits and reads it like we'd sit and read a little novel. So cute. Yes,
So you were talking, like, you don't need to sort of use physical stimuli, you use a pen, you use a laser, you use a piece of paper. Would you get the same sort of results if you turned it into a game? Like, would having it on a screen reduce its viability?
I was waiting for someone to bring up technology. I actually started with the third exercise being on a computer, but everything that has a liquid crystal display and LCD screen is bad for a child's eyes. So why would you want to actually put these exercises on something that makes their eyes bad? So that is why I did it with physical things, that a parent can sit and actually do something with their child, so that they're not doing what they do with everything else and just giving them an iPad and walking away. So that you're actually building a relationship with your child while improving their eyesight.
Hi, Kelly. Firstly, thanks for the talk. It's very interesting. What is your strategy at the moment? Because I know you want to get this to as many schools as you can possibly, get to. What strategy have you got in place to spread the word? Is there like an online resource that I can maybe distribute to other teachers to let them know about it?
Okay, so I think that's kind of what I left out. But what I wanted to do is, I want this to remain a student project, and I didn't want to involve too many other adults that was going to now distribute it. So I wanted to actually start a science club, but not just for kids in my region, but for kids in a whole bunch of different regions to actually come together. They can share their ideas. If they have something that needs to be spread, then we can spread it to not just your own region, but to regions outside your own, and so that it remains children, because we are the next generation, and I feel like we have to start learning how to be able to do this, speak in front of people, and to be able to conduct our own research, and to be able to analyze our own research, and then to be able to distribute our own research.
Thank you, Kelly. You put the problem very clearly, you put your hypothesis very clearly, and you got evidence that at least didn't refute your hypothesis. And I'm basically throwing a spanner in the works and challenging you. And it's because I'm in education and we need to know what's often called the placebo effect. That is, when you do an control an experimental group as you have done, how can you be very sure that the kind of exercise you gave them resulted in better reading, and not maybe a suggestion that this is a very good technique to improve? Were you able to keep away from the experiment your own suggestions about reading?
Yes, of course I didn't. You can't put your own feelings or your own ideas into your project. You've got to let the results speak for themselves. And if your results weren't the way you wanted them to be, you can't really tamper with them because then they're not correct. So I get where you're coming from by saying, do I think that it worked and that it wasn't just a one-off thing, that it was my luck that it came out like that. But if you're seeing that there are optometrists already that are starting to implement eye exercises and bringing up their own franchises of this, and I mean these eye exercises I didn't just randomly give to the kids. I had them first approved by an optometrist, and I did test it with one child before I did it with a group of children, and that's how we tested if they were fine for the kids or not. And that was like to see if my results would come out properly. So I did do it with a child before I did it with a controlled group of children. So yes, I think that these eye exercises do really work.
Thank you very much.
Possibly a follow-up question. I think the part about the question that you might not have quite got is, were the children not perhaps having fun with you and the wanting to please you aspect coming into it, as well as the exercises itself having an influence on them, as opposed to the other children who you probably just saw first? And my suggestion for that is that to control that, maybe you probably know yourself, but my suggestion would be to play with the other kids in a way like let them play on the computer game with you, where it's specifically just something they will be doing anyway, but also have the contact with you, so that your variable that's changing is more limited to the exercise itself, as opposed to having a fun person spending time with me that I want to unite with. So it's just a possible answer also for the level of control, where you are doing just a test and then a test again, and a test and fun and then a test again, which would possibly be a solution to that.
So you think that the fun factor played a role?
Well, I'm not saying I think that it is. I think that you've got to eliminate the possibility that it might have been. I don't think that it necessarily was. I'm just saying that to eliminate that in a further study with a bigger group of people, which is another thing which you haven't mentioned as a limitation, actually getting a big group to work with them, it might be an idea to include your presence in the control group as well.
Okay, well, I don't think it really had an effect on the results or what happened, because it's not like I made them sit in a room and made them do math sums while I played fairies with the others. I obviously let the other half, whenever I was working with the other half, I let the half that was not doing the intervention to actually go and play outside, and I actually left exercises for them to do, like I said, today we're going to play touches, and today we're going to build with Lego. So I didn't leave them in a class and just work with the other half. I did have fun with the other half as well.
Good answer.
Thank you.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
we'll get the one.
Any idea when this would work with older children?
Okay, so that was actually, I was going to carry on with this project, and that was actually what I wanted to do. I wanted to then take these exact exercises that I did with the little ones, and obviously just take away the bobbly head and the things that made it seem like the children, and actually doing it with children that are my age, or children that are actually matric, to see if that increases the reading ability there. But when I started the project, my intention was to start it when they're in grade R and grade 1, and in grade 1, to stop it right there, and so that when they do get to matric, that it's not a problem anymore, so that it catches the problem before it spreads.
I was interested to know whether with older grandchildren, it would help to do it with children that are in standard 4, say.
They do actually help because there are programs that already do exist. Not okay, I didn't test it with mine with that age group, but with the optometrist that I did speak to, and with the occupational therapist that I spoke to, she told me that it's never too late to start with the eye exercises, and it's never too early to begin. You can start taking your finger and moving it from side to side with a baby that's 5 months old. So it's never too early, never too late to actually begin with the eye exercises. Yes, Wanda?
First, this is not my question, but I think what they mean is for you to be able to isolate your effect so you can strengthen it. See, because there are different effects that, congratulations. By the way you are presenting it, we can see different effects taking place. So what we need is a way to isolate effects, the different effects, and see which is stronger. So that is to give follow-up or to move further your experiment. See? So that is a continuation. And a little bit of very basic statistics will solve the situation. Now I'm curious about how you chose the words they were reading, and if you use the same words in the pre-test and the post. That's my question.
Okay. So the words that I chose came out of random from their syllabus. So it is words that they are familiar with, and it is words that they are able to read. So I didn't take words that were too hard for them. So I worked with the grade 1 teacher, and she gave me a list of over 100 words that they are able to read and that they are familiar with, 1 to 2 syllable words. And what I did was I just put it in a computer, and at random it chose me 40 words. And that's the words that I used. And I did use the same words for the pre and the post test, because like I said in my speech, that a child of that age, if they didn't sit and study the words, so not just reading them out loud, if they didn't sit and study the words, that they will forget the words, most of the words, over the course of 4 days. So I had over a week in between that they didn't read those words. So.
The mic coming down as well.
You mentioned both parents and teachers as the administrators of the test. I'm just thinking in the South African context, we're going to have quite large classes. How you will manage, one teacher to administer to a big class, or whether you recommend for parents to do it. You can just maybe speak a bit about that.
Okay, so I spoke to the parents that the kids that I used. I spoke to them, and they actually said that if I proved that it was right, that it worked, that they would actually start doing it at home. But we're never quite sure if they are going to be doing it. And so what I did after I did these tests, and I actually went to go and show the teachers at my school how to do the tests, I actually paired the children up 2-2, and that they can actually do it with each other. Because if you're doing it with a friend, it's so much fun. And because I had already showed them how to do the tests, and I had done it with them, they immediately wanted to do it the way I did it. So they sat like I did, and they had the pen and the thing just like I did, and they used the famous sentence, concentrate just on the pen. And then they do it with each other. So I think after you as the teacher or the parent have done it with the students for like about a week like I did, and you make it really fun the way I did it, then if you pair them up and you make them sit next to each other and you do the exercises with them, and you sit and time them, and you as a teacher can walk through and just make sure that they're doing the exercises correctly, that I don't think it will be that big of a problem, even if they are a large number of children.
So, Kelly, I want to exercise moderators' right here to ask a question, and maybe change the topic just a little bit. I don't know if okay, it doesn't matter. Anyway, what I really liked about your presentation was how you integrated not only your research project but also your whole Eskom experience. And number one, I think maybe you might not have told us what your project is that you're researching now. It's a trade secret. But I am curious about, because we've heard this in the audience, about whether or not you intend to take this particular research any further, or whether you're going to leave it to others to add to the body of knowledge that you've generated. But also, I'm very interested in knowing, you mentioned the science teacher at your school was an encourager. Have you found multiple mentors along the way? Because this is a multi-year thing for you. Have you found multiple mentors along the way, and how have you found that experience?
Okay, so with the mentor part, my science teacher, obviously, from when I started Eskom, Expo, and before that, has always been a mentor for me. Always someone that I could go and speak to if I had a random idea or if I had a question about anything. And her name is Miss Anina now. And she has been a biology teacher at our school for over 20 years. And she's an amazing woman, and I really look up to her. And I think that if I had to go into something along the lines of teaching and along the lines of, I think that I get how I treat kids and my love for sharing knowledge and for having fun with children from her. And then she's my biology teacher, my physics teacher, Miss Adele Smith. She is just as amazing. We're really blessed at St. Andrew's School in Welkom in the Free State to have the best teachers ever. They are really there for the students, because you get some places where you go and you see a teacher and you're like, when we see our teachers, I think almost all the students in our school will stop and be like, "Hi, ma'am," because we are really close to our teachers, and they just inspire all of us to just go further. And then, I had the opportunity to come to Scifest Africa and meet Jim Adams.
That would be a low point in your career.
For the past, I don't know how many days I've been here for, 4 days, 5 days, I've been surrounded by such brilliant people. Last night, I don't think I've ever been in a room with so many clever people at the same time. It makes you feel so special to be in a place like this and to be surrounded by so much knowledge and to just sit and speak to someone who has gone through all of it already. I was so nervous to do this, and just speaking to the people who just stop and, well, the people who would listen, and they helped me and they pushed me through it, and they said that it's not that bad. They told me about their first experiences. So I think you always have mentors along the way, and I think you always have to accept those mentors and be really thankful for those mentors, because you never know when another one's going to pop up.
Awesome. I think we have time for one more question and answer.
Thank you, Kelly. That's been really inspirational. I just wanted, first of all, I think to the organizers of Science Fest, that for talks like this by a young person who's obviously a role model, and you have an audience of sort of almost retired or nearly retiring people, I think that Science Fest should make such talks free for school students, so that they can, we've got a room here that's half empty or more than half empty. They shouldn't have to pay to come to hear you. so that you are then talking about Expo to the people who can actually take it up and be inspired to do such work. So that's a point I would like to make to the organizers of Science Fest in future when we have Expo success stories. Those success stories are shared with the generation that's really going to take the future forward. My question to you is about the value of play. You said it in passing at the beginning, but you seem to make the point that the absence of play, or rather the decrease in physical play, outside play, somehow has an effect on effectiveness of reading. And I think I'm very interested in this because, as you probably know, our whole curriculum is very much oriented towards assessment and measurement. So the kids, right from grade 1, they've got Anna and Pearls and all these different kinds of tests. And in a way, play is being driven out of the curriculum. And so I'm really curious to know, what is that correlation that you think is so important for the relation between play, physical play outdoors, and reading effectiveness?
Okay. So, when I was in grade 1, we didn't sit and do our Afrikaans comprehension tests from iPads. We didn't do math sums from iPads, or sit and do quizzes for English on iPads. I was so shocked when I started with this project, and I walked into the grade 1 class to talk to the teachers, and all the kids had iPads, and they were reading Little Red Riding Hood, and there was a whole stack of books in the corner. It's like, why? But yes, I think that, like I said earlier on, when I actually did the project at Nationals, I used an advert on the TV as an example. And the advert is the little baby who's watching TV, and Singer Ladies is playing and she's dancing, and then the weather keeps interrupting the channel and she cries. So the mother comes and gets up and puts an iPad in front of her and walks away. I mean, I would rather, if the baby was crying, why didn't you turn her around and play with her? Why didn't you give her an iPad to change it so she could watch something else? I was thinking now at breaks, or when children have free time, you'll get friends to come over to your house to show them what new app you have on an iPad. Not, let's go see who can jump into the pool from a tree. Or something fun. So I think that that's what's lacking, and that's what I try to bring back by playing these games that help them. So that's why I wanted to add it to the curriculum, because by giving them these exercises that are making them have fun in class, it also brings back the thing of you can have fun while learning something, and you can have fun at school. So I think that yes, that they should be doing more basic play, and we should take out the technology from the grade 1s, 2s and 3s area, especially the time when they're developing, and actually let them use proper books and to incorporate more things that's going to develop them for when they do reach their senior primary phase, and where they do need to then gear into, yes, and to focus more.
Thank you very much. Let's give her a round of applause, everybody. Awesome job, Kelly. Awesome job. So we have just 2 little bits of administrivia. I loved your comment about getting more access to Eskom Expo lecturers in the future. And you have the opportunity to communicate with the Scifest Advisory Committee by filling out this evaluation form. Evaluation form. So one of the comments ought to be that the mics should work. but if you would collect from the Sci friend here a form, fill it out, and turn it back in, we would greatly appreciate it. Yes. And then the second bit of administrivia is, Kelly, a gift from Scifest. Thank you so much
for all of your hard work, and very good luck on your endeavors. All right. So you want in on the secret? The bottle of wine is not for Kelly. All right. Thank you very much, everybody, for coming. And now go out and play.